Good evening once more, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us on this weekend's edition of Viewpoint on DBS television. And of course, because it is the weekend edition, we are kind of a little bit relaxed here in the studios. Hope that you're equally relaxed, back at home, comfortable to watch Viewpoint. It is one of your favorite evening debate program where we get to know the viewpoints of our guests with us concerning topics that affect Cameroon, Africa, and the world as a whole. And with us tonight, we are having Gong Aloysius. He is a teacher who will be talking the issues concerning education. Good evening to you, Mr. Gong, and thank you very much for being part of us.
Good evening, Madam Vanessa, and good evening to our televiewers. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you to talk about education, which is much cherished in our country.
Thank you very much. Manga Venashus, it's like Manoma routine or tradition. Happy weekend start.
Happy weekend start, Vanessa. Good evening to our viewers. Thank God it is Friday and it's another period for us to take some break, some time off to, prepare for another week.
All right, let us take the first part of the show. Once more, you are welcome back. Our first question: does the introduction of new books on official book list having any impact in the teaching or learning process for the next academic year? Aloysius, yes or no?
Yes, it will certainly have an impact.
Manga Venashus, what do you think about that?
I think so. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. And is the official book list respected in Cameroon? If no, why? And if how? Yes. Aloysius?
To me, I may not be able to testify 100%, but I think that it is not respected.
Okay. Manga Venashus?
If I had the opportunity, I would have sat on the fence to say that it is respected and it is not respected.
So where do you stand?
I take the no.
The no. Let us take a second part of the show. Coming up is the debate. Once more, you are welcome back. In the first question, does the introduction of new books on official book list having any impact in the teaching or learning process for this academic year, that is the 2020-2021 academic year? Nkongalo shows you think that is going to have an impact. Years back, we had an announcement. It was official that the book list to be respected for the school academic year will be used for around 4 to 5 or 6 years and above. But this year we get to know that some new books have been introduced again, and so we are trying to find out how is that going to affect the teaching and probably the learning process of this academic year.
Thank you, Madam. I will begin with the announcement you were talking about, though I've not had that announcement. But I think a pedagogue like myself, I know that pedagogy is dynamic. And if we say that a book must remain in the program for 5 years, it is not like a metallic kind of a thing that is not flexible. You have to be flexible when it comes to pedagogy. Because at one time you will discover that the book that you selected has some issues inside. I remember last year there was a book that was withdrawn from the book list because in the course of implementing they discovered that there were issues in the book that were not to the taste of the children. Coming back to the changes in the book list, we are all aware of the reforms in education, especially in the basic educational sector, where in 2018 the curriculum was revised. And we came up with a new curriculum where certain subjects were introduced and they were supposed to be implemented progressively. And this year, we thank God, the minister has thought it wise to bring the books, because last year teachers were really in hell. They were suffering. There were subjects like social studies, engineering, national languages and culture that did not have textbooks. But this year they have introduced textbooks in some of these subjects in level 1, that is class 1 and class 2. Then the other ones level 2 and 3, there are no changes. So I want to think that the minister is respecting his promise. And so the teachers of level 1 will certainly enjoy. They will not stress as they did last year. Although I think a teacher should not be a teacher of a textbook. A teacher should be a teacher of a program, the curriculum. You use the curriculum and you do research. But because of the poor nature or the poor working conditions and the salary of our teachers, they don't have the means to carry on research. And so they rely on textbook, which is very detrimental to an educational system that really wants to make a good future. That we talk about the slogan of emergence in the 2035, which if things are not changed, we will have so many things to write home about.
All right, so what of these students that are in the examination classes or that are getting into the examination classes where they have maybe a time frame of 3 years or 2 years to write the exams, and so they have a limited amount of a program to respect in order to sit in for the official exams?
I don't understand you very well. When you talk about 3 years,
yes, from 3 to form 5, they have a certain amount of textbook that they're supposed to use. So when it is being changed, for instance, if you left form 3, you're going to form 4, knowing fully well that you have this program to follow, and suddenly the shift comes in. How do the children react to that?
As I said, I would
will
like
it not
to
distort their educational system?
It might distort, but I am not of the secondary to say what I really don't know. But as I said earlier, we work on the program and not on textbooks, except the program has been changed completely. If it's just the books, we'll follow the same program and continue. When I was schooling, we started the GCE program syllabus in Form 3. We moved from Form 3, Form 4, Form 5, and we write, there was no problem. Form 1 and 2 was just like a kind of orientation to get children into the system, and from Form 3 they go up. You cannot change a program in Form 3 and Form 4 and want the children to write in 2 years. No. If it is changed in Form 3, they will do it in Form 3, Form 4 and Form 5 without any problem. Just like in the primary where I am, the program is, the new curricula is moving up. Next year it will be in class 3. The following year will be in class 4, class 5, and then class 6. So those who are in class 3 now, they are going with the old program. Going with it to go and finish and will not do the new program.
The new program.
Yes.
And those coming up, they'll have to follow the new program.
They are going up with their new program.
All right.
And with their new textbooks.
I get your point very clearly. Mangavena shows with your knowledge in education and about the learning process, you equally think that the introduction of these new books on the official book list may have an impact on the teaching and the learning process. Mr. Ngong was talking more of the primary sector. Could you talk to us relating to the secondary and the higher education?
Actually, Vanessa, you know, at the secondary level, when you look at the impact introducing new books into the curriculum will have on the students as well as the teachers, it does not make as if it is only on the students. Teachers have something we feel the pinch. When I listened to Cameroon Tribune, the Monday edition, Monday I think so, they really indicated that new books have been added from pre-nursery right up to Op 6 in the both systems, English and the French subsystems of education. But when you look at it, you ask the question, if we are adding a new book in Op 6, how would that have impact? What impact would that book, how would it play on the life of the student? Because like Mr. Ngong was saying, if you look at the way I'm talking from the English subsystem of education, if you look at the way the program is designed, you start the program in Law 6 and you complete it in Op 6 and write, evaluate. You start the program in Form 3 and you complete it in Form 5 where you are evaluated on the program. Because I remember there are topics that once you treat them in Form 3, you only see them as revision in Form 5. Yes. Now, when a new book comes up in Form 5, I'll take, for example, English
literature. From 3 to 5?
Of course. I take, for example, English literature. The basics, they remain. That's a fact. A simile will remain a simile. The various techniques in literature, they will remain. They will never change. But the problem is, you have to give to this teacher that new textbook to read, assimilate the textbook, understand the textbook, and come and teach. The time frame matters. Because if you just, when you listen to the Prime Ministerial decree or text that was signed some 2 years ago, then was Prime Minister Philemon Yang. The Prime Minister is a Prime Minister anyway. He insisted on the fact that each textbook will remain in the school program for 6 years, which means it gave time for the teacher to understand the content of that book and teach it the right way. Because let us not deceive ourselves. Like he was saying, the program remains, textbooks change. If they're asking you to teach osmosis is the same. You can research it from textbook A, textbook B, textbook C to BFOP, the official textbook that you have. But then there is something particular that they want to pass across in that particular textbook. That is what the Prime Minister was explaining, that we need a particular standard textbook. Then each teacher, you can do your research now either from the internet and add it up with what has been given to you, because each program, once it is brought forth, the government has a plan, the government has a target that they want to lead her citizens to. They have a kind of formation they are giving to the students. It is not just teaching them just the knowledge. There is something they want to build the students toward. And when you take each book, all the authors are not the same. Each author has his own strength. And once the book commission, once they study your book, they study the strength of your book. And once they put 2-3 books, they are treating osmosis, yes, but then they will discover that this teacher has an in-depth mastery of this subject matter. That is why they select his book or her book and they propose it for students to follow. But that doesn't cancel the fact that the teachers can still consult other books to beef up the material they have. So I think when we exchange books over a short period of time, it affects that orientation that the government had taken. We were discussing off the camera, and Mr. Ngong was like saying something that corruption invades every sector of the society. We cannot deny the fact that there is corruption in this book commission, that it just suffices for you to write your own book and then meet the members behind the scene and they introduce your own book into the program without studying the impact of that introduction at that particular period. He was saying something about the new program in the primary sector. It is always normal, in a normal setup, the new books come up with a new program. We introduce a new book with a new program, so that the beginners begin the new program, for example, from Form 3, and they know that as they are going to Form 4, Form 5, they will be evaluating the new program, and in Form 5, they will, at least by the time they reach Form 5, the old program would phase out. That is how the normal situation should be. But what we have in the course of, because it is not up to 6 years, we cannot say that the new program that was introduced 2 years ago, that we have exhausted it. We cannot say that within these 2 years ago, we have attained the target, the target that the government wanted. So it was normal that we should give that 6 years frame. Vanessa, I remember when we were going to school, when you used to take a textbook, you can see 3-4 names, maybe of the same family. You see Mange, Robert, Mange Gilbert. These are the names of my junior brothers. That because when I used it in Form 3, I handed it to my junior brother. He used it, handed it to his junior brother, used it, handed it to his junior sister, and that is how it used to be. But now you find a child with, you use the book 1 year, we dump it to take the other one. The purpose is no longer target oriented. The purpose is the strength of your lobbying, the strength of your negotiation with those who validate books. Because we know that if my book is validated in the official book list, it means it will certainly sell. Yes. So I think that it has an impact. It has a negative impact on the children. Yes, as well as the teachers, because the children, they find themselves being introduced to a new, program rather than what they had started, especially for those who are already getting towards examination classes.
All right, Manga Venashus, does it not have any impact on parents too?
On parents, financially, it does. That's why I said when we were in school, you see, because most of us we use readers. It was not at the period where we have textbooks. Now, in practically almost everything, you find a child with a back of textbooks. You used to buy a reader, and you know that your junior brother who is coming to this class next year will use the same reader, which means they will not buy that reader again. But now parents will have to buy it for this child in Form 2. And you buy the other ones for the child in Form 3. You buy, and then next year, once they are changed, those books, they have no use. Yes. And the cost, it based on the parent in terms of financially. But then if we were able to hand it down, you reduce the cost to the parents, Vanessa.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. In the second question, is the official book list respected in Cameroon? And Aloysius, you think that it is not respected. So why do you think it's not being respected? Like there is an official book list where in Form 3, all students will have to own this particular textbooks, and it's being recommended for lay private schools to equally adhere to the book list being adopted to be used by every student. But in the field, you think that it is not being respected. Contrary to Mange Venashus, you will see a school insisting that you are going to use this particular textbook for exams, or this particular textbook in this class, and not what the government has brought out.
We have to make a difference between the
official book list,
main book, and what they call pamphlets. There are certain things that come out, they call pamphlets to help children to handouts to help children to revise. But there is the main textbook in the program. Okay. If I say it is not being respected, it's simply because the educational sector in Cameroon is like a Hollywood drama. Sometimes the minister works as if he or she is on an island. They take decisions without the stakeholders. Like last year, they fixed the prices for the textbooks and asked the producers, the editors, to produce, but did not subsidize. They did it as their cost, and now they could not meet up with the demand in the market. And parents were frustrated. They were running helter-skelter from one bookshop to the other, and they were not seeing the books. And they had to prioritize what we were calling pamphlets. And so the main book was not respected. I will not talk about this year because I'm watching. I'm a humble observer. I'm seeing. But I think if the government does not step out from its comfort zone to show a hand of fellowship to the editors, the parents will still be the people to pay the debt. The debt. Because they are the ones suffering, the final consumer. I listened to a program on CLTV. Somebody was saying that they have instructed, because that's the word that's used in Cameroon. I have instructed the book dealers that this should be done. This should be done. But I don't think we should be like that. We are just, as I said, the regime is like it's being repressive, and everything is repressive. Even in families now, the head of families are being repressive. There is no dialogue. You bring the stakeholders together, they sit down, dialogue, and see, examine the ups and the downs, the pros and the cons, and see which one can move to the favor of everybody. Like they would say, like the Frenchman, gagnant, gagnant. I will not be the loser, you will not be the winner. That's how I think. And the minister will single-handedly come out and issue just a decree. A country that really needs to move ahead does not work on decrees. You consult, you work with people together. You and me know that last month there was a ministerial decree banning holiday classes. That came from the Ministry of Secondary Education. Higher education did not react. Basic education did not react. But they went out sealing some schools that were operating at the level of basic education, as if to say that tomorrow the Minister of Secondary Education can issue an injunction in the Ministry of Basic Education. It is applied. We are just confused. We want things to be really clear. So to me, I am still being very skeptical this year. But for last year, the book list was not well implemented. It was not respected. And this year, I still think it will not be, because I am monitoring the way the government is moving.
All right. So if you think that it's not going to be, what can be done to ameliorate the situation or to solve the problem?
Unfortunately, the person I'm touching might not have the political will. I'm talking about the government. The government is supposed to subsidize the book production. They have done something good to put a small price. I heard somebody of the ministry that with 5,000 you have books in this class, with 6,000 you have books in this particular class, with 10,000 you have all the books in this. That's to entice the parents to think that everything is fine. Yes, hold your 10,000 francs and you go. You will leave from here to Bonaberi, back to Yassa, and to Bonanjo, and the 10,000 francs will be finished on transport. You will not buy a book. So what should be done is the government should subsidize, and then the book producers should bring the books, the editors should bring the books, the government should be in charge of distributing the books to wherever. In Nigeria here, when they talked about free education, children had free books. They were just giving. Okay. I am not saying that the government should give books free. They should subsidize so that little amount, parents should go and pay in particular bookshops and collect the books. You just go and pay your 10,000, they put your small parcel, you carry it home. But at the end, they still say, go to the bookshops. And then you go to the bookshop, you don't see the books. When there is scarcity, you who have done economics, you know what happens. Of course. Yes, they'll tell you, okay, the government has said this book is 2,500. Yes. But there's only one
But
copy.
now you can only find it in my shop, so I'm giving it out for 4,000.
4,000 francs. How you take?
Exactly.
What will you do? So that is where we are. We are in a state of confusion.
All right. Thank you very much for your viewpoint. Aloysius, he thinks that the government should subsidize this sector so that parents will be able to afford the textbook for their children. Bangavanashus, you are equally thinking in the same angle that the official book list is not being respected in Cameroon.
Of course, Vanessa, it is not respected. If we want to pretend that it is respected, then we just want to dance the same dance to behave like the government is saying that. It's just like they were talking of the prices of basic necessity, prices of foodstuffs in the market. You go to buy a cup of rice and then the woman will tell you, go and buy from the minister. It's the same thing with prices of books. They will tell you that a book costs 2,500 francs. You go to a bookshop and the person will tell you, go and buy from the ministry. Since it is 2,500. The minister doesn't produce books. He does not know the price, or she does not know the price of books. Because when we say things in this country, let us say things that are applicable, things that people can do. It's as if we want to just, pretend, just try to deceive people, and they feel that everything is okay. It is an open secret.
An open secret.
To everybody, that when you go to government schools, we can talk of the respect. That's why I said that I could sit on the fence. In government schools, we can talk of a respect of those of the book list. It is not 100%. But in lay private schools, it's another ball game. In a lay private schools, if I have my brother who owns a school and I've just ventured to write a book, no matter the quality of the book, that book will be sold in that school and parents will buy. If I have a nephew, I have a nephew or a niece who happens to write something, that book will be sold in the school. Mr. Ngo was talking something about handouts and pamphlets. That is what we have in our schools. You just take a book, a textbook, and you try to make a summary of a summary, and so that you reduce the cost, produce it in A4. The binding is such a way that the child will open it 2 to 3 times, the cover is gone. And you just get the price, 2,500 in the market. What is just produced here, in any documentary, you go there, they produce and parents are buying. I think that if we are talking of respecting book list, it should have been in such a way that no school has anything like book list. My child is going to class 4. Automatically, I just take the national book list and which are the books in Form 4. In class 4. And I just tick and I go to the market and buy. You cannot venture doing that. You go to that school, they will tell you, no, it is not this. We are using this in our school.
Exactly.
You have no option. And I think that when I say it, I still see government complicity in this thing. If the government brings out a book list and it is not respected and the government does nothing, they say that, silence means acceptance. Silence means complicity. Government is in complicity with the non-respect of the official book list the very government published. Because the government should be able, because there is, whether lay, private, confessional, you are under the ministry in charge. That ministry was supposed to go down to each school to find out. You don't go to the office and ask the principal or ask the head teacher, do you respect the school? And you expect the head teacher to say, no, we don't respect here. Go to the classroom and ask the child, let us see your books. Let us see the textbooks that you are using. Meet a parent during registration now.
But the official book list should be published online where parents can go, they find it out.
Vanessa, the book list is not hidden. It is published. How many parents? That's why I'm saying that I have the book list. I have it in my phone. And you go to the school and you ask the head teacher or the bursar who's there, and she will simply tell you,
we don't use this textbook.
We are not using it here. We are using this or that textbook. And the choice of that textbook depends on the negotiation of that publisher, of that publishing house, of that author. Because the author decides whether they should use the book in their school. You know what happens in schools now is, I had the e-lock is that I happen to have been besides. We just come and give the book. This book is sold at 2,500 in this school, and you negotiate with the school proprietor, sell the book at 2,500 francs. You sell the book at 3,000 francs to parents. You earn 500 and give us our 2,500. And that's why the proprietor imposes it. They may not impose it in school, because there's one thing Mr. Ngong was saying, that government work as if they operate as if they are on an island. What they simply do is, proprietors keep the books in a bookshop, and once you come and register here, they just give you a piece of paper with a stamp signed by the proprietor. You go to that bookshop and you collect the books. So I think that it is not respected because the authorities have decided not to make sure that it is not respected. It can be respected in this country if there is that will, that political will, to make sure that things are done the way they're supposed to be done, Vanessa.
Thank you very much, Magavenashus, for your viewpoint. Gongalo shows it has been a pleasure having you. Hope to have you subsequently when you're being called upon to.
It's my pleasure too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's edition. It has been a pleasure having you all, faithful televiewers of Viewpoint on DBS television. A whole team had to mobilize to make things happen this week, and next week another team will be there. So stay tuned. See you on Monday, God willing. Do have a blessed weekend in the company of programs on DBS television.